Migos disbanded 2023. Mm-hmm. When did it really start to fall apart?
It wasn't
obviously
really,
before then.
I think things on the business side wasn't turning to my favor. I wanted, I got kids. You know what I mean? I got kids, a family. And I'm just getting older and more smart, paying more attention to my money, my finances, and felt like I wanted a bigger piece. Sure. Not from them, but from the business. From the business, you know what I'm saying?
Was there truth to you and Sweetie?
No, man. It was a rumor, man. And I feel like it was something deeper than that for the split of me and bro. It was something deeper than that. You know what I mean? It was something deeper than that.
Baby, this is Kiki.
Now, you think you could cheat on somebody and still be in love?
For sure.
Okay. So I want to ask you this as a man. That women want to know, why do men cheat? Like, what would, for yourself,
I can't personally speak on why men cheat, but like,
for you.
Like, when I did do that, like, I was in a different space. I was young. I had just got married. I'm getting a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Really, it was communication. We got married, and then our communication was good, but it wasn't like, I wasn't saying my wants and needs and vice versa.
How is it when you do go through something with your wife, Cardi B, to have that everywhere, and how do you deal with that?
It sucks, bro. It's the worst thing ever. It be, and then it's so opinionated, and it ain't looked at like reality or like this never been done before, or like people not going through. It's like fate. It's like it's the worst thing ever. I feel like, and ain't no privacy. It can really determine your destiny.
How did y'all shut off that clutter? How do you know what I'm saying? Because of course you got to go through your situation.
You gotta let time and healing. You gotta talk, and it's a process. You just gotta stay at it. But it's hard, bro, because everybody got something to say.
I am actually looking for some advice because I'm talking to somebody right now who is an artist.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
What you do like, what you don't like is key. You know what I mean? Talking about things.
What if because I'm a magician, they always say I'm tricking them.
I mean, you got a lot of tricks up your sleeve.
Do you think you could date a magician?
Yeah.
But like, I know everything. I know how to get in your head. I know your phone, passwords, everything.
That's a little tricky.
See what I mean?
But the advice I would give you probably shouldn't go in phones. You might find something you're looking for.
But why would I have to go through the phone if I didn't think that there was something? Obviously, like, I don't just do that.
You're a magician, so you might just do it just because you can.
Wouldn't you? If I could teach you the trick to get into anybody's phone, you would do that to your girl's phone?
Yeah. But it's your boy Offset. You tapped in with the perfect network.
Who's the best dressed rapper in the game right now?
Man, the best dressed rapper got to be me. I'm having this on at all times. I'm never slacking. I'm always, you know what I mean, packing.
Google says the net worth is 28 million. How accurate is that? Like 50?
I swear, that motherfucker it's not out. Hello.
Best artist, Drake, feature Kendrick, out of the three.
I got one. Offset.
I feel like that answer was coming. What is your biggest monthly expense?
My real estate, you know what I mean? My LA house like 62,000. You know what I mean? The Atlanta house about another 22,000. Yeah, real estate, you know what I mean? The shit they go up, not down.
What is the biggest rumor about the entertainment industry that isn't just a rumor, it's actually true?
I'm having paper. That's the truth. You know what I mean? I'm having that money on. At the beginning of my career, you know, I'm young and I'm first getting some success, and I was drinking lean a lot, right? And so for a minute, my younger brain would tell me like, this is what's giving me the sauce to put on the songs. But I started to see it affect my family. I got 5 kids. You know, I got to be a grown man. I got to take care of the house. And I seen that in the people that love me the most, like my mama, would tell me like, hey son, you know, you stronger than that. You need to shake that. And then when I shook it, I was able to make hard fire songs, and I felt like I could record in the daytime and I could get more things accomplished. And then I would notice people tell me like my attitude or how I'm speaking is more clear, or I don't seem agitated, and I love that feeling from hearing that from other people. And so like for all my young people that got a little habit that you need to shake it and become a better person.
One moment, Offset is part of one of the biggest hip-hop groups in the world, and the next, he's reportedly lying in a hospital bed after being shot inside a Florida casino. But what makes this story even more shocking is what people say led up to it: a gambling debt, a long-running feud, and a chain of financial pressure that allegedly pushed everything to the edge. Because the real question isn't just what happened that night, it's how someone who once helped generate tens of millions of dollars a year ended up here in the first place. And the answer is far more complicated than anyone expected. It started like any other night at a luxury casino in Florida. Lights, noise, money moving fast. But according to reports, things quickly turned chaotic when Offset was allegedly involved in a confrontation inside the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. And moments later, gunfire broke out. Offset was reportedly shot and rushed out of the scene in critical panic as security flooded the area. Witnesses described confusion, people running, no clear explanation at first. Then came the claims that the situation wasn't random at all, that it was connected to gambling debts and a long-standing personal conflict that had been building for months. But even that was only the surface, because this wasn't a sudden explosion, it was a pressure cooker that had been building for a long time. And the fuse had already been lit long before that night. And what lit it goes back much further. Before the casino incident, Offset was already being publicly called out. Lil TJ had previously gone on live streams and interviews making serious claims. He alleged Offset was struggling financially. He claimed he had seen him borrowing money in casinos, and he repeatedly referenced unpaid gambling debts, including smaller amounts that allegedly escalated over time. At first, it sounded like internet talk, but over time, the story became more intense. Claims grew from thousands into hundreds of thousands allegedly owed through borrowed gambling money. And according to those close to the situation, tension between them didn't disappear. It only got worse every time they crossed paths. So, by the time they were allegedly in the same place that night, it wasn't just coincidence, it was history catching up at full speed. And what happened next reportedly turned words into something far more dangerous. But to understand how things reached that point, you have to understand what Offset's life looked like before everything started falling apart. Because there was a time when money was never the problem. In fact, there was too much of it. At the height of Migos, Offset wasn't just successful. He was everywhere. Hit records, stadium tours, viral culture dominance. Reports suggest the group earned tens of millions in touring revenue across peak years. With non-stop shows and global demand, they weren't just artists, they were a movement. But inside that success, cracks were forming. Tensions within the group, personal issues, trust breaking down behind the scenes. And then came the moment that changed everything: the loss of Takeoff. A tragedy that didn't just shake the industry, it fractured the foundation of everything they built. And after that, Migos as a unit was never the same again. And Offset's solo journey didn't fill the gap the way many expected. Albums didn't hit the same level. Momentum slowed, and the machine that once printed money started cooling down. But the lifestyle, that never slowed. And that's where the real pressure began. Because when the income drops, but the spending doesn't, something eventually has to give. And for Offset, that pressure didn't stay private for long. Behind the scenes, legal battles started piling up. A dispute with a record label turned into a lawsuit over ownership and control of music rights. Millions were allegedly tied up in legal arguments, delays, and business conflicts. At the same time, solo projects didn't perform at the level needed to replace Migos-level income. What was once effortless success turned into constant financial balancing. And as expenses stayed high, mansions, cars, security, lifestyle costs, the gap between money coming in and money going out started to widen. But the biggest shock wasn't in music. It was in what came next, because the financial pressure wasn't just slowing him down, it was stacking up in multiple directions at once, and the IRS was paying attention. According to public records and reports, Offset faced multiple tax issues over recent years. Millions in combined tax liens were reportedly filed across federal and state levels. Different years, different amounts, same pattern, money owed, penalties added, debt growing. At the same time, additional legal judgments allegedly emerged from unrelated cases, adding hundreds of thousands more in financial pressure. And then there were the gambling rumors. Some reports suggested losses and borrowed money reaching staggering figures, though exact numbers remain unverified. But what mattered most wasn't the exact amount. It was the pattern. Money coming in, money going out, and more money being borrowed to fill the gaps. And when that cycle continues long enough, it doesn't stay hidden. It spills into every part of life, including the most public one of all, his marriage. Offset and Cardi B's relationship has never been simple. Years of breakups, reconciliation, public arguments, private reconciliation. But eventually, things reached a breaking point. Divorce filings, custody discussions, and financial disagreements began making headlines. And then came the most explosive part: claims that financial demands were tied to the divorce process itself. Cardi B publicly expressed frustration over support demands and financial expectations, describing the situation as deeply stressful and complicated. Offset, meanwhile, reportedly pushed for a significant share of assets and continued financial support arguments tied to their shared history. What was once a relationship built in public admiration had turned into a financial and emotional standoff. And according to Cardi B's comments, the situation felt less like closure and more like pressure that wouldn't go away. But underneath all of this drama, something deeper was happening. Something that explained the behavior people couldn't understand. Experts describe gambling addiction as a cycle, not just a habit, but a loop. Win, lose, chase, repeat. And once that cycle takes hold, logic starts to disappear. People borrow money they can't repay. They chase losses instead of walking away. And over time, the behavior escalates. What starts as entertainment becomes dependency, and dependency becomes destruction. According to reports from people around the situation, Offset was often seen in casino environments during periods of financial stress, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, but always returning. And that pattern is what allegedly turned small debts into much larger problems over time. Because in gambling, the mindset doesn't stay simple for long. At first, it feels like entertainment, a quick thrill, a way to pass time while chasing a win that feels just within reach. But once losses start stacking up, something shifts. It stops being about fun and starts becoming about recovery, trying to win back what was already lost. And that's where things quietly spiral, not in one dramatic explosion, but in small decisions that seem harmless in the moment. One more hand, one more bet. One more chance to fix yesterday's mistake. Each choice feels logical on its own, but together they build a path that's hard to walk back from. Because the deeper someone goes, the harder it becomes to accept the loss. And instead of stepping away, the focus turns into chasing balance again, trying to erase the damage with one big win that almost never comes. And that's where things usually collapse, not in one moment, but in a series of bad decisions that slowly stack into something heavier than the person can carry. So, when you put it all together, the fame, the money, the lawsuits, the debts, the marriage breakdown, and the casino incident, you don't just see a headline anymore. You start to see a pattern forming underneath it all. A former global superstar navigating pressure from every direction at once. Financial pressure, personal pressure, public pressure. And when all of those collide at the same time, even the strongest image starts to crack in ways the public doesn't notice until it's already too late. And according to reports, a gambling cycle that may have accelerated everything behind the scenes. But the biggest question now isn't what already happened, it's what happens next. Because cycles like this don't end on their own. They only end when something forces them to stop. And right now, it's unclear whether that moment has already passed or is still coming. But one thing is certain, this story isn't just about fame, money, or headlines. It's about consequences catching up in real time, ones on how quickly everything can shift when pressure builds from every direction at once. And maybe the real question isn't what went wrong, but how long everything was already heading this way before anyone noticed. Because sometimes the fall doesn't happen suddenly. It happens quietly, long before the world ever sees it. And this situation feels like it's still unfolding. If you made it this far, you already understand there's more to this story than what the headlines show. So drop your thoughts below. Do you think this is a turning point, or just another chapter in a much longer cycle? And if you want more deep dive stories like this, hit subscribe, because the next one might be even more unexpected than this one.